All right, let's talk about ammo that can turn this from a also-ran into a gun that can almost meet FBI specifications for overall penetration. Penetration is really the only factor we're looking at. I mean, reliability obviously should be your number one factor, but after that, the only thing this thing can do is penetrate. It doesn't have the ability to generate enough velocity to cause a hollow point bullet to expand. So in all this ammo that I've tested here, and I've got over 24 types of ammo that I'm going to report on, forget the notion of a hollow point. It's not going to expand. So all you really have is the ability to punch a hole, and if you can punch it deep enough to disrupt the vital organs, you might have a man-stopping hit on your hands. Some of this ammo can do that. Some of this ammo is terrible. So let's go through them. I've got them broken down into categories. In the first category, this is useless for personal defense purposes. First thing we're going to talk about is the Calibri and Super Calibri. This is Aguila's ammo that has no gunpowder whatsoever in it. It propels a little tiny 20-grain bullet solely by the force of the primer going off. It barely penetrates at all. This is not suitable for defense against a human being. Next up, I've got segmented 22 LRs. These are actually hollow points, and they did sort of operate. They got nice high velocity out of them, but what happens, these hollow points will actually split into multiple pieces. So you get one bullet that impacts the target, then breaks up into 2 or 3 segments and cause 2 or 3 different wound channels. And that sounds like a great idea, but they just didn't penetrate deep enough. Most of the fragments ended up about 5.5 inches. Even the deepest one was only 7. So not suitable. And shot shells, rat shot. I know there's a lot of debate on the usage of these, because some people seem to think this would be appropriate as your first shot because maybe you could point it at somebody's face and maybe blind them with it. I have no idea whether this would actually blind somebody or not, but I do know that this would barely have enough penetration to do a number on a mouse. I don't know whether it would blind somebody, but I do know that if you had a real bullet in there and pointed it at their face, you have a chance of busting through the skull and doing some serious damage. So I don't know that I would want to fool around with shot. That's just my report. You decide what you want on that. Okay. Next category is ammo that just was woefully inadequate. It's not a gimmick or junk ammo. It's real, regular ammo. Might be fine from a rifle, but totally unsuitable from the NAA mini-revolver. I've got Match EPS by Ely. Remington Thunderbolts. Not get the job done. I've got Aguila Super Extra in blue and also in orange. Inadequate penetration. Remington 22 Subsonic. Not getting it done. Lapua SK Standard Plus, great target ammo, not good self-defense ammo. This was interesting. This is a tin ammo from Winchester. I call it Win Tin. 26 grains. It's not made of lead. It's made of tin, so it's a light bullet. Very high velocity, rated for 1,650 feet per second. From the NAA mini-revolver, I got over 1,000 feet per second, but we still only got 6 to 7 inches of penetration. Not enough. Another non-lead ammo. This is a CCI short-range green. I think this is actually plastic. Doesn't matter what it is. It's not suitable for defensive purposes. Oh yeah, the third version of Aguila Super Extra. So I've had yellow, blue, and orange. You don't really have to remember which is which because they were all lousy performers. And this was a big disappointment. Aguila Sniper Subsonic. This stuff is great from a full-size pistol and especially from a rifle. This is a 60-grain bullet loaded in a short case. These are really neat, but it just did not get up to speed out of the little 1-inch barrel. There just was no oomph and so no penetration. So I would say none of these are suitable. You would be much better off with anything else than this category. Okay, next category is under-penetrators. These aren't gross under-penetrators. These might, in a pinch, have enough penetration to stop a man, but I would advise you to be using something better than these. But I definitely use this over anything we've discussed so far, but still, it's not good. Wolf Match Target. This is great stuff for target practice, not suitable for self-defense. The Remington Golden Bullet. Just didn't quite get far enough. I mean, we're still having under 10 inches for all of this stuff. These are in general around 8 to 10 inches of penetration. Not the worst, but there's much better. So forget the golden bullets. The American Eagles, these are the 38 grain hollow points. Just didn't get the job done. Didn't have enough oomph. The CCI mini mags, these are the 40 grain solids, and these penetrated okay-ish, but not like some of the other rounds. So these mini mags I do not recommend, but if you're a CCI fan, stay tuned. I got something for you coming up later. And I had two Winchester Super X's. These are 37 grain hollow point and the 40 grain solid. Hyper speed or high speed, doesn't matter. Neither of them got the job done. Now we're moving on to ammo that gets pretty darn interesting. The Federal Champion 40 grain solid. This was not a bad performance. I had a couple that were below 10 inches and several that were above. 11 3/4 inches was the furthest that I clocked with this. That's a pretty serious bullet. Understand that the FBI is asking for 12 inches of penetration from a bullet in order to be able to count on that bullet from any angle and through an intervening arm. You know, if somebody's pointing Weaver style at you and you have to punch through the arm, the FBI says 12 inches is enough to get through there. Well, these did 9 1/2, 9 3/4 to almost 12. That's an interesting load. It's not the best load I tested, but it's promising. This one was actually even a little better. American Eagle, these are the 40 grain solids, which Federal makes American Eagle. They may even be the same ammo, I don't know, but they definitely performed just as good or even slightly better as the Federal Champions did. This is some ammo to pay attention to. Aguila Super Maximum. This is the fastest Aguila round. They rated at 1,700 feet per second out of a rifle. It is a 30 grain hollow point. Now, I got half that out of the little barrel. We got 845, 850 feet per second out of the 1-inch barrel. That was still enough to push the majority of these bullets over 12 inches. The reason this isn't the winning ammo is because not every bullet went that well. I did have a couple that were very short in 7 to 8 inch range, but all the rest of them were huge, 12, 13, 14 inches. That's a lot of penetration from a little 22. It's kind of phenomenal. Don't count on the hollow point expanding. It's just not going to. So these are going to work like solids, but they worked really well. If every bullet had been consistent, these would be the far and away winner. But because I did have some that came in under penetrating, I'm not going to call this the winner. I'm just going to say if you've got some of these and you don't have any of my winning rounds, these would be a decent choice. Not the best choice, but a decent choice. Now this is the second place ammo that I tested because of overall consistent performance. Aguila Interceptor Red. It had, first of all, it had the most noticeable kick. You could tell when you were firing these versus anything else, it punched back, so you knew you were getting some punch there. Second of all, it delivers the most kinetic energy, which isn't necessarily a wounding factor, but it's just something to be aware of. These deliver over 65 foot-pounds of energy from the 1-inch barrel. Third, the penetration was consistently pretty good. Now, the FBI is looking for 12 inches. 8 inches is probably enough on a clean shot. To me, if you got 10 inches from a little tiny pistol like this, you're going to be doing pretty well. I want 12 inches. I prefer 12 inches. But 10 is doing pretty good. I mean, I'm asking for the moon from this. You got to understand. 12 inches of penetration, I'm asking for the moon. So 10 inches, I think, is pretty good. These did consistently over 10 inches, came in almost 12 inches. The fact that they were consistently over 10 is what makes them, I think, a pretty good choice. But they're not the best choice. But now we're coming up to the winner, the hands down, no question winner. CCI, 36 grain mini mag hollow points. These are the Troy Landry Shoot'em variation. These are the best. These stunned me. These blew me away. I shot so many of these. I think I shot a dozen of these trying to see if they could truly be as consistent as I was seeing, and they were. They went always over 11 inches, usually over 11.5 inches to 12.5 inches. Every time. 11.5 to 12.5 inches from this. Now, yes, they're a hollow point. No, they don't expand. Can't help that. But I can say if you're looking to poke a hole through a human being deeply enough that you can cause an incapacitating wound, these are the most reliable, most consistent performers that I found, the most consistent deep performance. I did get deeper performance from the Super Maximums when they penetrated deep, but sometimes they came up really short, 7 or 8 inches. These were always over 11 inches. I was stunned. I think these are fantastic. I think that this is a must-buy, must-have for this little pistol. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe, and you'll be notified when new videos are posted.